Hey everybody, it is May, which means that it is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we are going to have a conversation about the mental health status in our precious state of Nevada. My name is Jim. I'm the president of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, Southern Nevada. Maybe you've heard of NAMI. NAMI is America's largest grassroots organization which advocates for mental health. And NAMI Southern Nevada is here to provide support groups for those who suffer from mental illness and for the family members and friends of those who suffer, to help them get through this journey and to raise awareness about what they're going through. We also provide instructional classes that educate the community about mental health and help people understand what these diseases actually are, and often more importantly, what they are not. So NAMI exists as a voice to reduce stigma in the community and to assist those who are going through the difficult journey of achieving mental wellness. And so that's what we're here to do. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so it's an opportunity for us to have a serious conversation about what Nevada's behavioral health, mental health landscape looks like. And so we're going to have that conversation today, and we're going to have something of an evaluation. Really quick, just so you can follow up with us, we are found right here at this website, NAMISouthernNevada.org, and you can also check us out on Twitter at NAMISNV, or come visit our Facebook at facebook.com/NAMISNV. So all the information we're going to talk about today comes from the Mental Health America Parity and Disparity Report, which was issued last year. So this is the most current information we have, and essentially the report exists to detail a comparison between every state in the union on different metrics as far as how well each state does when it comes to addressing the mental health needs of its community. Okay, so let's get to the good stuff. What you're looking at here is basically a picture of the United States and a ranking system. Now the report ranks 51 potential states, and you have to consider that they're factoring in Washington, D.C. So how did Nevada do? Well, we are down here. We are number 49. Now if you've lived in Nevada for a while, there's a joke that we locals have, because Nevada habitually tends to rank among the lowest of states in different categories, and the joke we tend to have is, thank God for Mississippi. The reason we say that is because Mississippi tends to be right next door to us on the rankings. Usually we are neck and neck for worst place in education or in other areas. When it comes to mental health care, there's our old buddy Mississippi. They're ranked 50, and Arizona's ranked 51, and Nevada's leading the bottom three, or following up the bottom three at rank 49. Now, as we're going to see in this report, giving us rank 49 in the nation as the third worst in the nation is actually quite generous. In reality, we should probably be ranked 51st, but for reasons as we're about to see, they decided to give us 49. But it was extremely close, and regardless, Nevada's system is probably unacceptable. But let me break down for you how we got that terrible rank of 49. Okay, so the report essentially takes a look at two things side by side. The first thing it wants to talk about is the need ranking, and basically that says, hey, how much need is there in your state for mental health services? And the way you could probably think about this is, how hungry are your people? On the left-hand side, it's how hungry are your people. On the right-hand side, it's the access, or how much food is in the pantry. So on the left, what is the amount of mental illness that happens in your community? And on the right, in that same community, how much is there to address that need? So as you can see on the left, when it comes to need, Nevada ranks number 14. So we show up in the top 15 of states that have the highest needs in the nation, because we have the most amount of people per capita who are suffering with some kind of mental illness, a substance use disorder, or some kind of problem along behavioral health lines. On the right-hand side, the amount of food in our pantry is extremely low. So low that we are actually ranked 51. So Nevada is the worst state in the union when it comes to the resources that we need to address the problems that we have. So we are in the top 15 for the amount of need that we have, and we are absolutely dead last when it comes to our ability to help those who are in need. Now let's break down this conversation about access to care, because you saw that we were ranked 51st. They kind of look at it in two different categories. The first one is children. So children who needed care but did not get those services. So basically they rank the states according to who is best and who is worst when it comes to the amount of kids that are not getting help. So the best state to live in is North Dakota. And basically what they indicated here is that only 13.7% of kids who need help in North Dakota for a mental health problem don't get help. So 13.7% of North Dakotan kids who have a mental problem, a mental health problem, don't get help. Now, as you can see, Nevada is down here, and we are ranked 49. So Nevada's at 49, and as you can see next to us, the percentage here is about 50.7. So that's 50%. It's really 51%. 50% of the children in Nevada who have a mental health problem will not get care. That means that 1 in 2 children in our state who have a problem with mental illness do not get the care that they needed. They needed it, and they did not get it. And we are ranked 49th in the country. And that's one of the reasons our access score is so low. Stepping away from children, let's take a look at adults. So adults who have a mental illness and who did receive treatment. That's what we're talking about here. So in first place, we see Vermont. And so Vermont, in their case, 57.1% of adults who needed help were able to get help. These are folks that did have a mental illness. Adults who had a mental illness, 57% of the time, they were able to get some kind of treatment. Nevada, out of all 50 states, is ranked 50th. And in our case, you can see that 30.9% of our adults who have a mental illness are not getting help. Again, to rephrase that, that means that 1 in every 3 adults that we have that has a mental illness is getting help. 2 out of those 3 are not. So 1 out of 3 who has a mental illness gets treatment. 2 out of 3 do not. And this is why we got such a low score when it came to access for mental health care. As you can see, for children and for adults, we're doing very, very poorly. And this is why in this case, we are 50th in the nation when it comes to our ability to help our adults who are struggling with mental health challenges. Okay, so we've talked about the access people have to care as children in our state. We've talked about adults with mental illnesses access to care. Let's talk about another piece of the puzzle, which is substance abuse and alcoholism. So all of us in Nevada know that our state is really built on this idea of vice, of having a great time. We know how to throw one heck of a party. The problem is that Nevada hasn't really become mature enough to clean up after itself at these parties. Because we are a 24-hour town and we have access to just about any kinds of vice or addictive things that you might want to get your hands on, we have got one of the nation's leading problems in substance abuse dependence and alcohol abuse. So we're talking about adults who have developed a dependence on their drug and abuse and addiction in drugs or alcohol. Nevada is ranked number 47 worst in the nation. Okay, so we're down there at the bottom. Now that's probably not that surprising to the average Nevadan. You probably hear that and think, sure, I would imagine it was pretty darn bad. After all, this is kind of what we're famous for. Fair enough. But the other side of this is something you need to take a look at too. This part is especially troubling. This is a second graph. And basically what this side says is that whenever we think about how bad the problem is in addiction, we also need to think of, okay, how many professionals do we have who can address the problem? How many drug and alcohol counselors and therapists do we have to meet the need in our state? Now, what this bar graph on the right-hand side is showing you is it's showing you each state's rankings according to how many professionals they have to address the problem. In first place, down here at the bottom, is Vermont. And Vermont, as you can see, has this very long bar indicating that they have a very high amount of counselors to address substance abuse problems per capita. The lowest state in the union is Nevada, up here at the very tippy top. And I want you to notice the differential between Nevada and the next lowest, Georgia. So you see that Georgia is second to last, we are last. But look at the difference between us and Georgia. They have like half again of what we have. You can see that we're barely touching 10 and they're almost up to 20. So not only is Nevada the least resourced state when it comes to addiction health professionals, we are not just the least, we are the least by half again. We are the least by a wide margin. And whenever you connect the dots between the fact that on the right-hand side, Nevada has the fewest professionals to take care of our addiction health, and then you contrast that with the fact that Nevada is 47th ranked in the country when it comes to how bad your dependence and your alcoholism and your drug abuse actually is, you have the makings of a profound problem. Now, NAMI does not take a position on things like should we legalize marijuana in the state, or what about access to opioid painkillers and things like that. But I personally am an addiction clinician. I'm a psychotherapist, and I'm also a drug and alcohol counselor. And so I'm part of that extremely small amount of professionals that we have in this state. And the one thing I would bring to everybody's attention is this. If we're going to have a serious conversation about bringing more addictive vices to the state, do we feel that we've appropriately addressed the problems as they exist already? Currently, Nevada is the 47th worst state in the country when it comes to addictions, and we are the worst state when it comes to the amount of professionals that we have to address the problem. We're not currently cleaning up the problem in our state. We should take that seriously in the conversation that we're going to have about what else we're going to do in our state as far as legalization and expansion of our recreation. So I want to show you one more piece of information before we sum all this up. We're talking about why it's possible that Nevada could be ranked third worst in the nation when it comes to behavioral health. And this next graph is fascinating, and I think it really underscores the point. So one of the ways that they grade all these states is they ask the question, in your state hospitals, how often did a patient go to one of your mental health hospitals in your state for a problem, and then after they were discharged from that hospital, after they graduated, how often do they come back within 180 days? So within 6 months, how often do patients readmit back to that hospital? How often do they relapse or regress? So as you can see, in first place in this case was Arizona. Good job, Arizona. Arizona, they were, as best as they could tell, 0% of the time, and it looks like they didn't have good results here, but basically it looks like in their case, the average patient stays something like 431 days, they stay quite a while, and when they finally leave their care, it's very unlikely that a patient will relapse or regress within 6 months and end up back in the hospital. So it's statistically 0. Nevada, compared to our next door neighbor Arizona, came in 51st. Alright, so maybe you're not that shocked and you say, sure, it looks like Nevada's bringing up the rear on a lot of these statistics, but I just want to point out something. 0 is what Arizona got, right? The second worst state in the union was Alaska, and their percentage of regression is 33%. So 33% of the time, 1 in 3 adults who goes to an Alaska mental health hospital will return to that hospital within 6 months of being released from it. 1 in 3, and that makes you the second worst state in the country. Nevada got 88.99%, almost 89%. Look at the differential between Alaska and Nevada. In fact, you could add together the top 13 states, and you still would only be getting close to what Nevada's regression number actually is. You would have to pretty much triple Alaska's number to get into the ballpark of Nevada. Look at that differential. Nevada is far and away the worst state when it comes to this. And what does that mean? That means 9 out of 10 patients who go to our mental health hospitals in the state of Nevada are likely to regress and return to that hospital worse than they started out within 6 months of being graduated or discharged from that care. Why does that happen? A, because our hospitals have lines around the building. They do not have enough beds to treat the problem as it is, and so they are stressed and they feel an urgency to get people out of those hospitals quickly before they're ready. Secondly, it's because when people graduate, they do not have access to care outside of the hospital. We don't have enough resources, we don't have enough professionals, we don't have enough in the state. And so people relapse and regress once they leave the patient hospitals because they don't have any resources outside of those hospitals. And they end up returning 9 out of 10 times, which is phenomenally bad and is without a peer in all 50 states. Look at that differential. It's just not even close. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a summary of everything we've talked about today. The first thing we need to remember is that we are 47th in the nation when it comes to the severity of our substance abuse problem. We are 49th in the nation when it comes to our overall mental health ranking. We are 49th in the nation when it comes to children who have a mental health problem and do not get help. Again, 1 out of 3 children gets help. 2 out of 3 do not. Or actually, with children, I apologize, I have my numbers reversed. With children, it was 50%. So 1 in 2 children in Nevada who has a mental health problem gets help. Now the adults, we are ranked 50th. And that is the situation in which 1 out of 3 adults who has a mental illness will actually get help in our state. 2 out of 3 will not. We are 51st in the country when it comes to adults with mental illness, his ability to access care in our state. We are 51st when it comes to children and youth being able to get their hands on some care, and we are 51st in the country when it comes to having the fewest professionals to actually help us in this fight. Folks, the argument can reasonably be made that the Silver State is the worst state in the Union when it comes to mental and behavioral health care. Now, I want to pause on that for a second because there's a temptation for some folks to say, all right, but I don't have a mental illness, nobody in my family does, and so why do I care about this? You care about this because people in your life are struggling. The numbers do not lie. We know that there are a tremendous amount of people going through depression, going through anxiety, experiencing schizophrenia, experiencing other forms of mental illness, addiction, who are going through hard times. And they are struggling in silence because they are unable to get their hands on quality care. And we live in a community with these people. They are our neighbors, they are our coworkers, they are our family, they are our friends. And because we live in this state too, their struggle, their illness is our struggle, is our illness. And it's something that we must take equally seriously. So, what can you do about this? You're a thinking, feeling Nevadan. You say, you know what, I live in this place too. I care about this. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. I want to raise awareness. I want to get involved. What can you do? Well, the first thing you can do is you can contact your representative. How do you do that? You go to www.leg.state.nv.us And basically there, you can find out who the heck your assembly member or your state senator actually is. And once you find out who they are, call them. Call them, email them, get a hold of them, and raise awareness about the problems you've learned about today. If you use Twitter, you should tweet to the hashtag NVLeg. That might sound silly, but NVLeg stands for Nevada Legislature. And ironically, most of our assemblymen and senators actually use that hashtag all the time. And they're constantly going back on there to see what people are saying in their direction. So you should definitely tweet to that hashtag and raise awareness. What else can you do? You can get involved, not just getting a hold of folks, but making noise in your community. You should join the Alliance. If you're serious about mental health care, if you're serious about seeing our state rise from the worst in the nation and actually adequately address the needs of our people, then you should join the Alliance. You should go to NAMISouthernNevada.org and you should pledge your support and you should become a member and an advocate of our organization. Also, you can go ahead and follow us on our social media. We're on Twitter at NAMISNV, or come on over to our Facebook and like our page at facebook.com/NAMISNV. But that's not all. Once you've got these voices, once you've got that ability to get people's attention and raise awareness, what should you say? So what should you say to your representatives? Tell them, listen, I want to see a bill. I want to see support. I want to see resources when it comes to mental, behavioral health, and substance abuse problems in our state. We are the worst, and it's time to see a change. So tell your legislatures that you expect to see some results and some resources. On your social media, with all your friends out there, go ahead and use those hashtags NVLeg, Mental Health Month, and tell them, hey, watch this video about Nevada. It's not that exciting, there's not music behind it, but it's really interesting information, and it affects all of us. And this is the month that we should learn these things, that we should have this conversation. And so follow us on social media. As we put up those news stories, share them with your resources, share them with your network, let people know. Make some noise for mental health this month. So folks, this presentation has been an assessment of Nevada's mental health. We've been talking about the needs in our state, giving an unbiased and evidence-based accounting of exactly where Nevada stands compared to everybody else in our nation. It's been provided to you today by the National Alliance on Mental Illness, Southern Nevada. My name is Jim. I'm the president of this organization. I hope that you will join our alliance and that you will contribute in a meaningful and authentic way to this state, which we all love. Thanks so much for listening. God bless you, and please share this information with somebody out there.